If a school is found in violation of Title IX, the government has the power to revoke all federal funds, which would hopefully force a school to be in compliance.
Title IX and the pending Campus Safe Act. Now this law, like what?
And so we decided to file a Title IX complaint. You basically write to the Department of Education and you not only explain what happened to you, but you also explain how it's a violation of Title IX. So it is Thursday night, and instead of going out, we are in learning case law until we know Title IX and the case law like the back of our hands. I had earbuds in. If I was walking, if I was, going on a run or whatever, instead of music, there were Supreme Court cases. I read all the case law and all existing Title IX cases. Like, we're sleeping in shifts. I would write for 3 hours and then sleep for 3 hours, and she would do the same. And I learned that you don't have to be a lawyer to file it, that you could be 20 and take on a 200-year-old university. We didn't know how to file, so we faxed it, we emailed it, and we mailed it. We didn't know what to expect, and so I go into my university mail office one day, and I have this big envelope from the Department of Education, and I'm just like freaking out. I'm like crying, I'm calling Dre, I'm Melinda, I'm just like, they took our case. They took our case.
Flat out denial. Leaders at UNC say accusations that the university underreported sexual assault cases is false.
UNC Chapel Hill General Counsel Leslie Strong pointed out what a false claim can do to a university's reputation.
The allegations are false. They are untrue, and they are just plain wrong.
False, untrue, and just plain wrong. That resonates in my head. I hear that when I sleep. To say none of this happened, we're not underreporting, we didn't mess up, it's just betrayal.
Schools are actively and aggressively not wanting to tell the truth about what's going on in their campuses, because the first campuses to do so will be, the kind of known as the rape campuses, where they actually have a rape problem. But rape is happening at all college campuses, and there are perverse economic and reputational incentives to hide those numbers.
I analogize it to getting a letter. So you're a parent, and you get a letter in the middle of the summer, and it says, "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Schultz, we're so happy that Johnny is going to be a freshman, and we thought we might need to let you know that there's a 1 in 4 or 5 chance that while Johnny's here, he's going to be the victim of a drive-by shooting." What's so vexing about this problem is that the shooters are other students. Thank you so much for your tuition money. We so look forward to welcoming Johnny in the fall. Would any parent send his or her child there?
They protect perpetrators, I think, across the board because they have a financial incentive to do so. Perpetrators who are found responsible for rape are much more likely to sue institutions than survivors are, and institutions like to avoid lawsuits. And so in an effort to avoid lawsuits, they pretty much do whatever they can to give them a slap on the wrist.
What to expect if you're accused of a sexual assault? If you're found responsible, you may be suspended for 1 semester, suspended over summer vacation, suspended for 1 day, given a $75 fine, given a $25 fine, given a warning, assigned a paper to reflect on your experience, required to construct a poster board listing 10 ways to approach a girl you like, assigned 50 hours of community service at a rape crisis center.
Any allegation of sexual assault is something that we at the university take very seriously.
ASU issued a statement saying, in part, Arizona State University takes all sexual misconduct complaints very seriously.
The university says it's taking these allegations very seriously.
We take all incidents very seriously.
We take these accusations very seriously.
We take reports like this very seriously.
They take all reports very seriously.
James Madison University takes the safety and well-being of our students very seriously.
So what's the punishment?
All 3 students responsible for sexual assault and harassment expelled upon graduation.
Yes! Justice! Wait a minute. Expelled upon graduation? Isn't that graduation?
We will strive to build a community where education, inquiry, and faith combine to respond to the demands of justice. This is our goal. Let no one ever say that we dreamed too small.
My career in law enforcement started in 1969 from the South Bend Police Department and then went to the University of Notre Dame Police Department. The university students they're just wonderful kids. But there's, just like anywhere, there's a percentage of absolutely horrible people too, and of course I had to deal with that too.
St. Mary's is a sister school to Notre Dame. It's one of the best Catholic all-women's colleges in the nation, and I was proud to go there. I was really happy. I was part of campus ministries. I decided to be a biology major. I had a dream of going to medical school. Compared to my sister, I'm more of a book person, and she kind of always made fun of me because I like to stay in on the weekends, and she kind of said I was a party pooper and want me to come out and stuff. And I did go out, and it was fun. It was Halloween. A call came in on my phone. It was from someone I knew who went to Notre Dame. He's like, you have to come to a Halloween party. I trust people. I trusted what he said. So, I just went along with it. We got to his dorm. I asked him, well, where is everyone else? And he's like, oh, they're coming. And eventually his friends left, and it was just me and him. That's what it happened.
She, of course, said no, trying to keep him from doing what he was doing. And then he eventually just forced her and raped her.
Lieutenant Cottrell interviewed all the people that, I had known that were involved.
In my opinion, I had a conspiracy of not only the suspect that was involved in raping the victim, but I also had friends of his that helped convince her that there was a party that she was going to. The university had their judicial hearing.
They had this idealistic view that if I was telling the truth, that they would support me, and they didn't.
They preferred to have the crime stats as low as possible so that, it doesn't detract from applicants to the university.
I met with the president of St. Mary's, Dr. Mooney.
Hello, I'm Carol Ann Mooney, president of St. Mary's College. St. Mary's must always be committed to providing our students with an excellent intellectual and academic experience.
She kind of blew it off and didn't take it seriously, She said, well, these things don't happen here.
It got worse and worse for me as the years went along. Not only dealing with what happened to the victim, but also dealing with what the university did. My bosses were saying that they had empathy for victims of crimes, but it was like I told them, that's talk is cheap. And that's all it is with you guys is talk. You don't really support victims of crimes. I do. And I can't work for you any longer.
I didn't really talk about it. I kind of just stayed in my room for a couple months until Christmas. And I didn't sleep. My nights and days were mixed up. I had to couldn't go to class, and so I cut down. I just completely changed as a person.
I think the biggest reason why it's so hard to be on a college campus after you've been raped or sexually assaulted is that it's a small place, right? Where everything is structured. Your living space is structured. Your eating space is structured. So you're going to run into your rapist.
I couldn't go out, I couldn't mingle with strangers.
I feel the campus getting smaller and smaller to me. There are less and less places I feel comfortable going. I walk around with my pepper spray on my keys and I'm always just on edge.
There's a whole physiological side to PTSD. When you experience a traumatic event like this, your nervous system tends to get very reactive.
I started having more panic attacks.
When I was in my depressed state, I just slept all day long.
I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I self-harmed.
During the vacation between, semester 1 and semester 2, I tried to kill myself.
I had a lot of, of course, depression, suicidal thoughts.
Trey Malone took his own life last June. In his suicide note, Malone wrote about being sexually abused while a student at Amherst College and the school's lack of response.
Men are sexually assaulted, and typically that is perpetrated by other men. And I think for a lot of male survivors who are sexually assaulted, it challenges many beliefs that they have about themselves.
Men aren't supposed to become vulnerable. They always say, you allowed yourself to do it. Why did you do it? Why didn't you fight them off?
Men have to be strong, and men wouldn't let this happen to them.
Because of the emphasis there is on it being a crime against females, men feel less comfortable coming forward with it.
Reporting rates amongst men are just so infinitesimal that it actually makes it very hard to do research on this, let alone to get a real understanding of the scope of the problem.
You are built from the ground as a Tar Heel, as a member of a community that is so much bigger than you. I was directly going against it.
Tonight, the U.S. Department of Education has launched its own investigation into how UNC Chapel Hill has been handling sexual assault cases on campus.
It wasn't until we filed a complaint that the retaliation started, and it's been bad. I've gotten death threats, gotten rape threats. Of course, internet trolls are always there, but I had one in-person threat, which was kind of scary. Bang, bang, bitch, die.
My residence hall was broken into, and it was completely vandalized. Spray paint everywhere, a knife was left behind, and messages were painted all over.
I felt like I was in danger all the time, and that's what I thought of when I went to classes.
I went, from being valedictorian in high school and then, struggling to finish my classes and not knowing how to tell my parents, which I never did.
Can you talk a little bit about what it was like when your parents found out?
They still don't know.
They still don't know.
Yeah. I thought about telling them many, many times. And I didn't tell my parents until a couple days later, which was probably like the hardest thing I've ever had to do, ever. And I'm gonna start crying. I remember Skyping my dad.
What worries you about telling them?
The conversation afterwards. I worry that they look at me differently. I'm worried that they want to talk about it again. And just the fact that they would know. That it would just be there in their minds when they looked at me.
Just hear my mom's voice on the phone, her feeling so helpless in that moment is probably one of the worst aspects of this entire ordeal, which probably makes me the most angry at my assailant.
My mom was on the plane the next day after I told her.